Nail or beauty school was just the beginning, right? What on earth do you do now? Welcome to the Salon Success Podcast with Monaco Nail Academy. Our topics stretch beyond nails and into all things salon related, business, marketing, and social media, and at the very least hits you with real, honest stories about our experiences. This isn't school, this is real life, real business, and really freaking hard work. Before we get started wherever you are, thumbs up, tag a friend in the comments, or hit that share button and support small business. Hey guys, Penny here from Monaco Nail Academy, and today I'm joined by Mel.
Hi.
And Erin.
Hi.
We've got Pat with us.
Kia ora.
And we're recording this in the school holidays, which means Lexi's here.
Hello.
And today we are recording our Halloween episode, which means we're going to be telling horror stories from a nail perspective.
Just a reminder before we get started, please use one of our codes for 10% off all courses. We get a kickback from these enrollments, and they're how we support the production of the podcast. Okay, me first. My code is PATSIDIF.
And mine is Little Moon.
And my one is Jungle Nails.
So before we get stuck into scary stories, let's revisit last week's shit show of an episode. Erin, what were we up to last week?
We were talking about assumptions we had when we first started our training or were going into our training about being a nail tech and what that will mean. Just what we thought and then what we learnt from as we went along.
And it was a really good episode the first time that we did it, but it didn't record properly, so we had to redo it, and I had a tantrum and Mel had to take over.
I got you, girl.
Someone has to. So we have no real plan for today's episode other than we were like, what could be Halloween themed? And we thought scary stories. And I don't really know what the definition is of scary / horror, but I have a couple of like stories that could have been scary, and I figured we'll just end up on a tangent anyway because that's kind of what we do best.
Bring on the tangents.
Yeah, tangents are the best part of these episodes, in my humble opinion.
I agree. I was literally about to say that.
So, scary story could be categorized in lots of ways, but one of the things that I have had happen while doing nails is that, so when we used to have a full-time salon, and it was still from home, but we took over like my entire house, and we did spray tanning as well, and we used to have where if a guy booked for a spray tan, then we had just a policy of someone else must be in the room, so you can either bring someone with you or you pay an extra, I can't remember how much it was, and one of our staff can go in with you. So like the idea being that if, say for example, if Erin was going to be spray tanning this guy, for her safety, either he can pay an extra $10 and Pat goes into the room as well, or he can bring a female friend, partner, whatever with him, just so that Erin is not the only female alone in a room with naked men. And so that was a normal policy. It was all over our website stuff, no issues. So a guy turns up one time with his partner, and they go in the room, and the staff member says, you know, like, this is where you put your clothes, and this is what you're going to do, and stand on the sticky feet things that stop the tan getting on the soles of your feet, blah, 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 blah. And then he was like, okay, cool. And can you spray around this? And he had a ankle monitor bracelet on. Like, I don't know if that classifies as a scary story, but that was the first one that came to mind, was like, glad that I don't know what it was for. Obviously, that's not the small talk that you have, like, doing a spray tan. So, what did you do wrong? But, like, it just definitely made me real glad that we had that extra safety policy. Not because I think the person was in danger, but I was just like, okay, cool. So glad that you're in my house right now.
We don't know what it was for, right? And like, with the way the justice system goes, it's kind of like you can end up on home detention for pretty gnarly stuff. So, oh my God, okay, scary.
I 100% would have asked what they did wrong.
Hey, I would have been like, oh.
I would have made it a topic of conversation because it would have made conversation either would have been really awkward or it would have flowed really easily.
What if he said something really scary? Like, oh, I rubbed the dairy.
I would have been like, tell me, Interesting story.
I mean, I still do want to know what he did.
I want to know too.
I would be too scared to ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask. Well, partially, I don't know. I just wouldn't want him to be mad at me. Not because I thought he was dangerous, but like just because I wouldn't want a client to be mad at me. But then also, I had this is not a scary story. This is a tangent where they're already. But back in the day, we used to have a from home hairdresser friend and a from home brows friend and stuff. And every second Wednesday, they would come and work in our nail salon, and clients could get like a haircut, get their brows done, whatever, all at the same time, like a little combo day, even though we weren't a beauty therapy salon. And Jackie, the hairdresser, she would cut hair for like someone I'd been doing nails from for 5 years. And by the time she was like halfway through the haircut, she knew so much shit about them and like diseases that they had and like all this like gnarly stuff that like sometimes they might have mentioned stuff in passing to me, but I was always like, oh, I don't want to ask and be rude. And then like Jackie would have them in this full conversation within 20 minutes, just telling her all these things that I thought were like too private to ask, but they definitely didn't feel that like I'd never felt like someone thought she was rude. They just were having a conversation. I was like, shit, I did not know that.
I think it's how you approach it too. Like if you're like, so tell me, what did you do? Like that would be, you'd be like, but I would probably be likely to say something like, so have you been misbehaving? They're either going to open up or they're not, you know?
I can so hear you saying that, Erin, like, have you been misbehaving?
It's so funny though, because what a thing to say to a naked man.
I would be like, oh, I like your bracelet. Like,
yeah.
I love your anklet. Where'd you get it?
Yeah, or something like that, you know? You know what I mean? It's kind of just how the conversation flows. They're either going to open up about it or they're not. And then the subject will change if they're not comfortable talking about it, you know?
Oh, where'd you get that tattoo?
And also, like, how mad can you be when you're the one naked? Like, what are you going to do? Get aggressive? But, like...
I can tell you're not mad, so...
The other weirdest, this was also a spray tan though, but we got a group booking once for like, I think it was like 5 or 6 spray tans. And we're like, cool, yay, great, group booking, lots of money. And then when the staff member came out, having done them all, like the girls kind of all just went in the room together. Like some of them, it wasn't a big room, but there was enough room for a few of them to be in there. And they were just having like silly, like getting ready for an event, like girls' night, whatever. Anyways, once they'd all left, the staff member came out and was like, they were all wives of a very prominent gang. But I won't name the gang, but they were wives of like the heads of the gang. Like wow. They were all like, I don't know what the term is, but like if it just made me think like, hope we didn't piss them off.
For a second, I thought you meant that like they were all wives of the same person, and I was like, what? But like, oh, okay, different gang members. Like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
They probably had a really lovely experience and be like, hey, if you ever need some manpower, call us up.
Yeah, actually, I need some things pulled out.
Well, that's the thing though, right? There's always that thing that they don't really do anything to draw attention to their area. And like, if you are nice to those groups of people, then what I have heard is like, they'll have your back. Like, they're not mean to just be, they're not bad for bad guys' sake.
Obviously, depending on exactly which kind of gang you're talking about, but I think a lot of the old-fashioned bikie gangs and that are pretty genuine, mostly, just a little bit on the other side of the law a wee bit. But some of this new stuff that you see coming through, I think, has gotten pretty terrible, to be honest, from what I've seen and heard.
But it just goes to show, like, you just never know who's walking through your door. And I don't want to put anyone off working from home, because neither of those things turned out bad. The guy with the ankle bracelet was lovely. His partner was lovely. All of the ladies that came in for their group booking were lovely. Like, if they hadn't mentioned it openly, or if he hadn't been decorated, we wouldn't have known. So then you're like, okay, well, how many other people came in that have actually done way worse things than any of these people? But you just don't know.
Well, just like recently, actually, at the salon, a guy had, like, his car had broken down and he needed water for his radiator, and he came to the door, obviously knocked on the door, and then was like, can I get some water for my radiator? And that's all fine. But then the other girls started talking about this time when I obviously wasn't there, and this person came running in, freaked them all out, was like, I need water for my radiator, like, you know? And they just, it's just that whole, like, you don't know who you're going to get walking through the door. So, but 9 times out of 10, it works out fine. That particular incident freaked the girls out.
But also, even if you're not working from home, like, you can be working anywhere and dealing with all sorts of people, good and bad. So, yeah, okay, there's a little bit of an added security risk in your home, but it's not that bad. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I know there's a wide array of people's, like, security comfort zones within our Monaco community. But, I mean, knock on wood, but, like, I'm 16 years in and I've not had anything bad happen.
At the studio where I'm at for quite some time there, it hasn't been as prominent lately, and I think that's because they've cleaned up the area a wee bit, but there used to be quite a lot of abandoned buildings and derelict looking stuff around. We had homeless people in that were bunking in them and stuff, so there was quite a lot of addicts and stuff loitering around the area. And a couple of times we had, like, and it was quite scary actually, like, it was a matter of having to pull the blinds and lock the doors when you're the last one left in the salon on a late night or something, because there was a time where there was this guy that was going around banging on people's cars and being like, give me your money. So that was scary. Like, a couple of the girls would go to leave, but then they would message and be like, hey, just FYI, you might want to lock the front door.
At our when Monaco used to have a proper, like, physical location, we were right by Mount Smart Stadium, which, for those of you not anywhere near it, it's like a big sports stadium where there's lots of concerts and stuff as well. And so we had signed the lease not really thinking anything about being there, except that it did turn out to be a giant pain in the ass, because sometimes they would be doing sound check in the middle of us teaching. That wasn't ideal, because they were really, like, they were the next driveway over, and obviously, like, the stage isn't exactly right outside the door, but, like, it's pretty freaking loud. But the other thing that happened both for concerts and for rugby games was parking. So all of the businesses around us would sell their parking spaces to, like, Joe Public going to the rugby game and make money off it. And the block that we were in, there was like 5, like, we were 10D. So I think there was, like, up to E kind of thing. So it was like 5 things that all shared our car park, and they had all, before we signed our lease, made a deal that they would all take turns. Like, why would everybody be there every weekend selling 6 car parks when you could all take turns and sell everything, and you could make like $1,000 from this? But there was this guy who I don't think was even part of one of the things. I think he just put on a high vis and took advantage. But because we were the only business that worked on weekends, we taught on Saturdays. And so it was really frustrating when people started filling up the car parks. And this guy turned up who was there every weekend. But, like, I don't think he was part of the actual lease. I don't freaking know. Anyways, whatever. he was there every weekend, and it was really frustrating because we would have to keep an eye on what was happening, because when they sold the car parks, they would regularly double park people because everyone was going to be leaving the game at the same time, and they could make twice as much money if they filled it all in. Our 2 car parks that we paid for as part of our lease were tucked back far enough that you could very easily double or even triple park them. But so we would have students in our 2, what's the word? Not compulsory. What am I trying to say? Like the 2 spaces that were only ours, we would have
Designated.
students parked in there, and then they would park along the side of our building as well. But what this guy would do is start selling the spots, and we would have to watch that he wasn't double parking our students in. So, and he would park enough people that the students parked along the side of the building then couldn't maneuver to get out. So like we never had an issue when someone couldn't leave, but that's because we were watching constantly to make so we would run out and be like, you can't park there. And they'd be like, the guy said we can. And it'd be like, well, I own these car parks, so you can't. So anyways, that was a whole thing. And the guy, I had gone out to him heaps of times and been like, hey, you can't do this. These are our car parks. We're working. You're making it so our students can't leave. And he would always be like, yeah, and then completely ignore us and keep doing it. So then one time I went out there and I was so shitty. I was like, I have asked you so many times, stop doing this. I pay for the car parks. You're stopping us from being able to do our job. This isn't okay. So anyways, the time that I got angry, I don't know if he had experienced maybe it was a female male thing, or I don't know if he had had someone actually confront him before, but he went from 0 to 100 and he got so aggressive and was like right up in my face in front of heaps of people and just being like, I can do whatever the F I want. Like, you be careful leaving there tonight because I'll be waiting for you. Being really threatening. And literally all I was doing, they were my car parks. And he was double parking them and making money off them, and I hadn't given permission for it. I'd asked him so many times nicely, but yeah, he literally did threaten that I should be careful leaving because he would wait for me.
What a dick.
Huh?
What a dick.
Honestly. So you're in danger everywhere. Whatever.
And that's the thing too, you can be like, whatever, he's just a dick. But you also have to consider the fact that he might have actually meant that threat, And that's especially when you're a woman leaving, later in the evenings and things, because that tends to be when horrible things can happen.
But that's almost where it actually becomes easier to work from home. I know people have concerns about security and giving out their address and stuff like that. But I never felt in danger inside my own home, locking the door at the end of the day. But I did feel scared walking to my car when I was not working from home.
Yeah, I would have to agree, actually. When I've done a late night, walking to my car, I definitely am very aware of my surroundings. Even though I usually have my dog with me.
Erin, your dog is not an attack dog.
No, I know. And the first thing he does is run to the lamppost, the same lamppost, every time to pee on it. And that's miles away from my car. You
saying, oh, well, I do have my dog with me, is like if I was like, I'm safe, look at this kitten.
I don't know, though. He can get a little bit growly.
You have a little dog.
I'm sure he would try to protect me.
I'm sure that a big bad murderer man would be like, oh, no, I'm gonna leave that lady alone. Look at her tiny dog. Hey guys, Penny from the future here. Want to take your salon to the next level? Discover the Salon Success Accelerator. 8 weeks to unleashing your salon's full potential. Gain complete access to the Salon Success course, where you'll learn how to build a solid business plan, develop a powerful brand, set the right prices, and create effective marketing strategies. Plus, benefit from 30 hours of additional recorded content, weekly one-on-one coaching sessions, and our exclusive group chat for personalized support. Starting every first of the month, this accelerator program provides a structured path to achieving salon success. Join today and master your salon success at www.monaco.ac.nz/course/accelerator.
I was when I used to get my lashes done at my where I trained for lashes, because it was a commercial salon in like our town's main space. Oh my God, my voice is so shit. So sorry, I'm sick. Anyway, there was a period of time where they would frequently have to lock the doors in the middle of the day because there would be like this religious nut job person standing like right outside because there was like a public space and just like generally being aggressive and trying to stop people and yelling at everyone about how we're all going to hell. And I think they tried to get into the salon at one point, so they would have to like lock it up because they were like, what the heck is going on? Like it was so like you could hear them from in the salon. You're trying to have like a conversation about something, and you could just hear like hellfire, all of you will go to hell, blah 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 blah. And it's like, please go away and do this somewhere else. Like, go away. Yeah, I don't think they go there anymore, at least as far as I can tell. But yeah, that was not fun. So you can be confronted by crazy people wherever you go.
Mel, have you had any weird, like, quote unquote scary, but we know what we mean. Have you had any weird experiences in retail?
Retail, probably more so than nail related. Nah, not really. Just like what you guys were saying, it's you have to really force yourself to not make the judgments. Like now where I live, there's a big gang presence around. And they will quite often come into where I work at the moment. And you'll see like it's that generation, like the older ladies, they'll scatter. They don't want to be the one that they approach. And it seems to be that I attract these people because they always come to me. And inside I'm like scared. But they always end up to be the nicest, coolest guys. And sort of slowly, it's like a movie, sort of slowly the others will like emerge from where they've like run to hide from. And eventually we all end up just laughing and having a great time. And then they're really nice people. But they're never the ones that create these horror stories. It's always the ones you don't think. In my experience anyway, it's always like, I don't want to call like any generation out, but it's always a specific generation that make your life more difficult. Not like horror, but I've never had anything like scary. Like I've never had anyone like you say, make me feel like unsafe working from home. For me, it's more so my kids. Like
your kids terrify you?
Well, yeah, they do. They do because they're like me. They're scary.
I would be scared that your child is currently vacuuming. That terrifies me. What's wrong with it?
She is, because she has me. No, they don't terrify me, but it more so scares me to put like my location out there. Like, you know, with Monaco, like the address is all over the place, and I don't like that just because I have young kids in my house. I'm more so scared of something happening to them, you know? Or not happening to them, but just putting it out there like, here, I have young children, come to my house and take them. Like, this is where I live. Look, they're really beautiful, you know? So I don't really post them or anything like that, but that's all from my perspective.
I think as well, though, my town is generally very safe, very neighborhood watchy. I have cameras, like, I don't have my own children to worry about. When Carl's kids are here, obviously that's a different factor, but even then, like, our town is so chill and so safe.
Lexi's pointing to herself in the background, Penny.
What is my child? Yeah. Other than
and that was the same too, Penny, and that was the other thing that I was like, well, all it would take, well, when we lived in Whitianga, all it would take was for you to go to the dairy and be like, do you know where Mel is? And they'd be like, oh, well, she lives da-da-da. So, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then even in, like, in Auckland and stuff, when I was living in the city, if you're really gonna, like, rob someone or whatever, like, an at-home nail tech is not really your best source of income as a burglar. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, a little bit too she'll be right or a little bit too naive, but obviously I would lock my doors and take precautions and had outside lights and all that sort of stuff when I was in the city as well. But I don't know. I'll eat my words when something bad happens, I guess.
I live in the town that's literally called, we've won shittest town of New Zealand, I think like 2 years in a row or something. And like, I have a great time here. I like living here. Do my neighbors have domestics? Yes. Has the house down the road gotten shot at? Yes. But also none of that has happened to me. I'm not really painting a great picture of my town here, but I like living here.
To be fair, it's not your responsibility to paint a good picture of your town. It does that for itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like a video by Guy Williams or something. He tried to do like it's actually not so shit in Huntley. And then it was like, no, it's still pretty, it's shit. And I'm like, you know what? You guys stay out of here so we can keep our property prices low.
Well, so here in New Zealand, there's a radio station called The Rock, and they do a segment called Poo Towns where they make up songs about towns around New Zealand and make fun of them in those songs. And the Poo Town song for my town mentions a reputation for having swingers. And then you move here, and the definition of a small town is that I know who that song's about.
Oh, okay. I have to say that, like, I definitely feel safer in my shitty small town than I did living in a big city because people are friendlier here. They'll say hi to you. When I lived in Auckland, I would always be like, "Kia ora," and like, "Have a good day." And people would be like, giving me the evils, like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, I'm just friendly. Like, don't be rude. Um, yeah. Oh, okay. I have a not retail, but fast food horror story. So this happened when I worked at a big fast food chain. We literally had someone jump over the counter with a hammer to like try and smash someone. This was like in the middle of the night. This like, crazy people can be anywhere. So you don't control the situation. At least if you're at home, you can have precautions like your husband's home or your sister's home or something or whatever. But like if you're in a commercial salon where anyone can walk in, you don't know who's walking in. But if you're at home, it can be just your clients and you've kind of like pre-vetted them and you know who's coming in. But you don't know who's walking in through the doors for a commercial salon necessarily if you do walk-ins.
Yeah. You just never know. And we've just had Anthea join us as well. So she's logging in theory, to do the next episode, completely unaware of the disaster of a morning that we've had. But Anthea, we're currently recording our Halloween episode telling horror stories. So we've been mostly talking about safety issues, and we've gone on several tangents. But I don't know if you have any stories of coming across like weird or scary situations, either in doing nails or like just in previous jobs that you've had. What's like the weirdest situation you've come across?
That's a really good question, and I think I'm having a bit of Zoom and like audio nightmare, so I'm a bit distracted by that, and I'm gonna need a bit of time to kick my
Okay,
memory
Effie,
into the
you do that
archives
because
for
I
that
have
one.
a horror story. You do that. So horror story that recently happened is so my friend who I share the salon space with, she was working on a client's nails and the client brought her dog. And we love dogs. We have dogs in the salon. That's all good. The problem is that the dog literally shat itself. It shat itself. Oh my God. It's not scary in the sense like, ooh, scary, but it's horror in the sense that literally they pooed. Oh my God. So I walked in like about to prepare for my client and I'm like, what's that smell? There was literal crap on a blanket and we had to put it in the laundry area. And then the dog peed. So they not only did they poo, they peed the second time because the dog was a
This
little
is
puppy.
the salon dog or the client dog?
This is the client dog. Like
My
the
God.
salon dog is like behaved. Like it would be even worse, I think, if it was like the salon dog because like keep the dog somewhere else. But yeah, the poor client was so mortified, like, oh my God. But like maybe don't bring your little puppy dog to a public space.
That's
Or let us know in advance so we can do a puppy pen.
It's making something in my brain fire as if that might have happened to me before, but like not with enough clarity to have a story. It's like it was a dream or something, but like something in my brain is like I have had shit in my salon before, but I don't remember the details.
It's like, oh, please tell us the context of why there was literal shit.
Erin's laughing so hard I think she's gonna pee herself if that helps. She's on mute so that our listeners can't enjoy the chaos, but I can see her face.
For the record, anything that touched poop was like disinfected or thrown away, okay? We were not using poopy hands to work on clients, okay? Just throwing that out there. It's
You didn't
not,
just leave it
you
there
know.
as a new design feature?
It's, yeah, no. Yeah, it's that's the
Like
new smell that we really wanted to, showcase.
the story is funny, but in the moment it would have been horrific, and it just would have been like, oh God, like, yeah, because
Just another
I
thing to deal with, you know?
I have dogs, and I know what dogs can smell like, and especially if they've got a crook stomach or something like that, and poor thing.
Hey guys, Future Penny here again. Just a super quick interruption to let you know that if you head to monaco.ac.nz/subscribe, not only can you sign up to our weekly newsletter, but you'll also get a free video lesson from our course, The Art of Pigments. That's monaco.ac.nz/subscribe. I had another horror story and now I'm trying to think what it was. It went out of my brain.
The first horror story that I ended up coming up with was actually I was the client and I went into a mall salon. I used to love getting
End
a
of.
spa
That's the whole horror story. You were
right?
a client
Yeah.
that went into a mall salon. The end.
Oh, but I think of it too often, like it lives rent free in my brain. I used to love to go and get my feet done because I didn't really know any better. It looked cute, great. I was going to get my twink white toenail polish done, and I don't have cuticles to cut, right? But every time they get out the nippers and they just want to hack away there, there's nothing to hack away at. So they cut my cuticles on my toes and I was bleeding, like there was blood, and I had white polish coming in with blood, and oh my God, it was just absolutely a nightmare. Like, yeah, never again. And now that I know what risk I was exposed to with like open bleeding wounds in a spa pedicure chair, like, oh, I've got goosebumps thinking about it.
That makes my stomach turn. That's definitely the most horrific of all the stories we've shared so far. But I do have a similar one that I forgot about. But like one time after working Expo in Australia for Artistic, I then like my flight wasn't till way later and I was like, I'm gonna treat myself and go get my nails done. And I looked up and I thought I found a good, like, reputable salon. And it wasn't until I was halfway through the spa pedicure that I really was like, oh, no, this is just not a chain, but kind of like the same vibes. But they just did lots of little things. They didn't make me bleed, but like they they went to grab files out of the bottom of a trolley on wheels, and a couple fell on the floor as they grabbed one out. So they grabbed them off the floor and just threw them back into the bottom of the trolley. And then when they finished what they were using the file for on me, they literally just put it back in the bottom of the trolley. And then the other thing that they did was take jandals, but not disposable jandals, like actual jandals, and put them on my feet. And I was too, now I'd be like, get off me, I'm leaving. But I was too shy, I guess, and I just let them do it. And now I'm like, how do I not have disease feet? That's nowhere near as bad as being made to bleed, but like we all make mistakes.
Yeah, my best friend, she was at one of those, mall salons, and they literally drilled a hole into her fingernail. Yeah. So it was like bleeding, and then she was like she was just like, obviously she's reacting because like she's in pain, and then like, you're fine, it's not a big deal, like, and they're just
Yes,
continuing
it
on,
is.
like, okay, yeah. So it's funny, not funny, but it's kind of demented that what people are willing to put themselves through and
Because
like,
they
oh
get
yeah, I'll
told
just do
it's
it again
normal.
because it's cheap.
It's Halloween scary.
My first ever time I got nails done was from a lady who was working in a room at the back of a gym, like such a normal situation for our newbie nail techs to be starting out in like a rent-a-room situation. I just went and got my nails done by her, full set of acrylics, French tips, obviously. But like 6 of my nails were scabbed up. Like she grazed all of my skin. And like they were sore and so close to infection. But like, yeah, 5 or 6 of my fingers were just all scabby and gross. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's what happens.
I remembered one from our classroom when Monaco had a classroom in Ellerslie when I first started. I was an in-person student and I arranged a model who was a friend of a friend, and she's like an actress and a model and books all these things, and I was, oh great, I'll do these French nails in class for you. But she showed up expecting to be able to eat a Subway foot-long sandwich while having her nails done inside the classroom. And so once she pulled this out while I was already like, I'd started the service, like our hands were sanitized, I was working, and I just grabs out the Subway footlong, and I'm like, well, I guess we can take it outside. Oh, it was, yeah,
Because
that
you
was
definitely have time for that. I have a couple of things that, okay, like these aren't really horror stories because it doesn't worry me at all. But like, you know how every single pedicure client apologizes for their feet? Like, I don't know if you guys, I just think every single person, 9 out of 10 minimum, are like, sorry about my feet, sorry I didn't wash them properly, sorry I just had shoes on, sorry, whatever. Like, they all have an apology for their feet. No one's feet are bad. Like, generally, if people have issues, they're so self-conscious, they're not booking in pedicures. I guess that's my theory. But as an example of how few people stick out, I have 2 feet, well, no, 3 feet that I remember. Full stop, in 16 years of being a nail tech. One of them was an elderly lady who, from like arthritis or whatever, her pinky was fused so far over that it touched what would be her pointer toe. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I'll show you guys on podcast with me, but like her pinky crossed over her ring finger toe and her middle finger toe and touched her pointer finger toe.
What?
And so
Wow.
then I don't know. And
Like
as
pretzel
it
style.
always works, like pinky to big toe or pinky to thumb. In my brain, when I saw it, I was just like, wait, do I start still with the pinky toe, but then I'll have to go back to go to the other one, or do I work from the ring finger because the pinky toenail is actually in like 3rd position?
Also, painting them neatly without them bumping and stuff.
Well, at least it didn't move because it was like fused there. Like it didn't, you couldn't move it back to where it was supposed to be.
so
Was the
like
client in pain?
No, and it was at a bridal shower. Like I was booked to just sit in a corner of a bridal shower and do either a manicure or a pedicure for each person. And she was like, you know, the grandma or whatever. And all of the young girls apologized for their feet, and she was the only person who didn't, which good, she shouldn't. But also I was kind of like, I wonder if it's just because she didn't want to draw attention to it, or maybe she's dealt with it for so long she's like, fuck it, why should I? But I don't know, she was the only person that said nothing, and I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
massive
like
props to her for just accepting her body, for being her body. I want
yeah.
to know, like, fused as in there was, like, the skin was fused with skin. There was no getting anything between that toe and the other toes.
The skin wasn't fused, but it was very tight. Like there was no moving that toe. There was no lifting or separating it. Like I would say like fused as in the bones, like maybe arthritis, or I don't know how the world works, but like I couldn't get anything, but there's no chance for a toe separator. Like I wouldn't have been able to slip a nail wipe in there. It was real tight, but I don't think the skin was fused.
So what did you do? What order did you do it in?
I I did the ring finger toe, like I did it in the order they appeared.
Accessibility.
And then I had a second feet that I remember. That was another elderly lady, but she came to me where this was so that one was like a decade ago. This other one was 1 or 2 years ago, and her toenails had grown so long that they had curved over the end of her toes and touched the floor now. Like they had literally just followed the shape of her toe. And again, not a horror story, but just like an example of the fact that in 16 years, the third toes that I remember is literally just a primary school teacher who had lunch duty and open shoe, like sandals on, and all the bark fragments, like her feet were dirty, but they weren't like hygiene dirty. She'd been walking through bark. And so when I sanitized her feet, the fragments turned to mud. So like she was completely unaware because she wasn't, I don't know, we were talking and her feet were under the table. But it kind of just grossed me out a little bit, but like not that bad because I knew it wasn't actually like a hygiene issue. It was just that she had dusty feet and I had just turned them into mud with sanitizer. But of all the 16 years of feet, those are the 3 sets of feet I remember and can actually tell you about. So people's feet aren't that bad.
So many students are grossed out when they get to the foot portion, and I understand feet are all the way down there, so a lot of us neglect them, but I kind of think of them like, have you heard me say the analogy of a bathroom? When a bathroom's really dirty, when you clean it, it looks amazing. So if someone comes in with feet that are a bit manky, like you put a mask and some gloves on and you just use your skills, do your do. But the feet are amazing afterwards. It's like your clean bathroom looks beautiful. These feet look amazing, and you can be really proud of the work you've done because you've got this A to B transformation.
I love doing feet for that reason. Like the transformation is so fun. And I always tell my clients, like all my regulars are trained to make sure they please do not cut your toenails before you come to me. I don't think it's gross. It makes my job so much easier if you leave some length for me to work with. I have one other like client scenario horror story that will make your stomach turn. So I had a girl message and ask if she could book in her male best friend to come and get his nails done because he was a nail biter and she was trying to help him stop biting his nails. And she said, so could you just put some acrylic or something over his nails so that he can try and grow them out? And I was like, of course I can. I do that all the time. Nail biter transformations are really fun for me. I would love to help him. So they turned up, but there was nothing there. He had like, there was nothing, guys. It was fingers. Like I looked down and literally had to swallow a gag and then just pretend that it was totally fine and make him feel at ease. But there was no nail there. Like he had such a severe issue that it was literally just fingertips, and some of the fingertips had a little bit of like hardening, like, you know, when you lose a nail, like lots of people, well, I don't know, lots of us being nail techs will have seen the end result of someone losing a nail and it goes kind of hard and gets like a scabby almost, but it's not a scab, gets a hard surface before it starts growing out in length again. Some of them had a little bit of hard, but there were literally multiple fingers that he may as well, I don't know if anyone's ever seen a finger where someone's lost the tip of their finger and now it's just smooth. That's what most of his fingers look like. And there was like little to no eponychium, like cuticle kind of area. There was just like a little ridge where that should be. It was, I'm sorry to shame, but like it grossed me out. That's the only person in all of my years of time of doing nails that I actually am like, makes me feel sick. But like I feel bad for him. I don't think he's disgusting or anything. It just was like the idea of the pain of doing that, like, because people pull out nails for torture. And that's basically what he'd done. And then I was a baby tech. This was so long ago. I think I'd just gone full time. So I was 4 years into nails, but I wasn't like, it was 4 very part-time years into nails. And so I did. And also like we hadn't really had as much education in that time on like using raw products on skin and stuff like that. So I did put acrylics on, but I didn't, what could I prep? Like I couldn't, there was nothing to buff. I just sort of said to them, look, they're not going to last very long. I'm going to do them really short and just try and help you, but there's not much I can do. And there was nothing to buff. I pH prepped the like roughish parts of scaly skin, and I put primer on them and I put acrylic straight on them, and then I said I can file them, but I don't think I should. And then she texted me like 2 days later and they were all off. And then I really regretted that I'd put anything on. I wish I'd turned him away, first of all, for having put raw products straight on his skin. Second of all, what I did probably then caused more damage by him ripping them off, or however they ended up coming off. So I absolutely, like, I regret it, and I wouldn't ever do it again with now knowing what I know now. But that was a horror story for sure.
I feel sorry for him too, because like thinking about that, I actually commented on an Instagram post about this earlier today with a nail biter of someone who just, it's an anxious thing. Like I pull my hair out. I don't chew my nails, but I pull my hair out, and it's the same thing. I do it absent-mindedly when I'm stressed, when something's occupying me. So to think that someone's harmed themselves that much, like what must have been going on? And it's such a challenging situation, trying to think about how do you help this person. Well, I sort of would encourage them to have some replacement behaviors, but it sounded like he needs actual shields on his hands. He needs those hands locked away for like 3 months to just heal
Let
themselves.
them recover, yeah. That sort of thing is so terrifying to me. Like people with dermatillomania as well, where they're picking the skin off, but to a level of, like, I will sometimes, because if there's something rough that I can bite, I will bite my nails. I bit my nails all through childhood, but I now have a nail file in every room of my house. So the second there's that compulsion, I'm getting rid of it. But in its place, I will sometimes chew on the skin if I'm like stressed or bored or whatever. Not too bad, but a little bit. But the idea that someone can remove their nails like that, or that the compulsion to do so or to pick their skin is so strong that they're causing themselves pain, makes me so sad.
That one's a referral to like a GP and then other health specialists. Like a
Yeah.
nail tech can't help with that.
Yeah, definitely. And never put raw product on someone's skin. That's so dumb. But I didn't know any better because we really didn't have that level of education back then.
Thank God we do now, though.
Yeah. Penny from the future back again to quickly interrupt and remind you to sign up for the Salon Success Accelerator, an 8-week course that helps you unleash your salon's full potential. Find out more at monaco.ac.nz/course/accelerator. So before we wrap up this Halloween episode, let's do a quick fire round of, instead of horror stories we've experienced, what would be your, like, what word am I looking for? Like, what is your worst case scenario? What is a horror story you have not yet encountered as a nail tech and hope you never do?
No one wants to start. The first thing that came to mind for me is just a client who won't respect my knowledge. Like if someone comes in wanting something that I know isn't going to work for them and won't listen to me when I tell them, like, hey, like if the consultation falls down and I'm like kind of backed into doing something, like I guess I either refuse or they sign a waiver, but like that is what I fear most, is someone coming in demanding something that I won't do for whatever educated reason. Basically, that's it. But I mean, someone bringing a dog that shat in my salon would really be up there too. I just couldn't imagine that.
It's obviously something you think about until it happens to you, and then you're like, what?
Yeah, like that's gotta be quite a rare thing to have happen. Far out.
My one is I have seen a photo of not one of our clients' nails or anything, but like I've seen a photo where a client's nails, there was a hole because they were doing biab, and then the client didn't pull out their hands, and then there was a heat spike and it burned a hole through the nail plate. So yeah, that would be my greatest fear. I think there are lots of things I'm afraid of, but that's pretty much up there because like you don't want to burn holes into people. But also clients need to pull out their hands and like not push through the pain. Like, please.
I think it's not like my greatest fear, but just something that it's almost like a pet peeve, but it's just gross. Like clients come in and they've just got and it's not just the lunch they've just eaten, it's the whole week under their nails, and you're like, can you please go to the bathroom? Like, here, take the manicure brush. And you have to be so polite about it and professional, but I just hate it. It's just like, you're coming to a nail appointment. Like,
I had a client who was a share milker, and she would turn up and you could smell the poo. Like, and
Yeah.
she would not, I don't think she knew, like how a smoker can't smell that they smell like cigarettes. I don't think she knew, but the nail wipe cleaning her nails would get green tinged, like cow poo green.
Yeah.
Why
I
didn't
can
this
vouch-
come up as a horror story earlier in this episode?
I
What the
didn't
hell?
think about it. I'm sure there's
There's
so
so
many.
many.
I mean, Halloween happens every year. There's always next year. Mel, what's your greatest fear?
I think mine not so much relates to clients, but just like we were saying earlier, like my fear is that I do a client, they're unhappy or whatever, or I don't do them and they're unhappy with that or whatever, but something happens which then makes them like upset with me, and then they compromise like my safety in my own home, like I don't want to have someone be so upset that I open the curtain and then they're parked out there, or I see them driving past, or just stuff like that. Like I really don't like the thought of compromising my safe zone for me and my kids.
Yeah, for sure. And before we wrap up, I'm sure that this episode has enticed you to become a nail tech. So if you are ready to kickstart your nail tech journey, sign up for our free 5-day nail tech launchpad. It's the perfect, no pressure way to dip your toes in and see if nail tech life is right for you. You can sign up at www.monaco.ac.nz/launchpad. It's free. And how could you not want to be a nail tech now after this episode? With that done and dusted, before you disappear, like our page or follow the podcast so that you don't miss the next episode. We will be back next week. Mel, what are we covering next week?
Okay, so next week we're doing an episode based on a request from a student, which is, do I have to do 5 jobs to be a nail tech? So yeah, we all just want to do nails, but do we factor in the fact that now you have to become a photographer to get great photos, and be a comedian to get posts that are going to make people laugh, and all these other things that we don't factor in.
But until then, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching Monaco Nail Academy, or follow our salons. Mine is Hard Lacquer NZ.
Mine is Jungle Nails NZ.
Mine is Pattern and Beauty.
Mine is at Little Moon Nails.
Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next time.